What kind of sweetener do you use?
I don't use any sweetener.
I used to use barley malt.
Yeah. There's a whole kind of culture, and it grows out of the 60s revival of whole grain, which was, I don't think, the proudest moment in American baking. There was a lot of heavy bread that came out of that era, bread that seemed more virtuous than delicious. And so a lot of sugars were used to make up for the fact that whole grain flour can be more bitter. The bran, which is included, is a little bit bitter. But there's really good quality whole grain flour now. It's being milled really well. There's a local wheat movement growing all over the country right now, where the quality of the flour is such that you don't need to add sweeteners.
Where do you get it?
Well, there's a beautiful mill in California and company called Community Grains, which I just saw is on the shelf in New York. That's doing flours and milling it really beautifully and very fresh. The problem with whole grain is that it goes bad. One of the reasons we moved to white flour, which is a really momentous shift in the history of eating. It's really the beginning of the industrialization of food. Happens in the 1880s. Roller milling technology is invented that allows you to completely remove the bran and the germ. Okay, those happen to be the healthiest parts of the wheat berry, and we sell those off to the pharmaceutical industry so they can sell us back the vitamins that we've removed from the flour. It's a great business model, but terrible biology. And so when we figured out how to do that, white flour is stable, so you could mill it anywhere and sits on the shelf for years. Whole grain flour is volatile because it has all these volatile oils. It has omega-3s, for example, and its healthfulness is directly tied to its perishability. So they didn't like that, and they were happy to get rid of whole grain. Now it's coming back. It has to be milled fresh, though. It doesn't last as long on the shelf. And in fact, one of the things I learned, although I wasn't able to confirm it as much as I'd like, but many millers told me that when you buy commercial whole grain flours from large companies, the germ is not there. They don't put it back in. They just put back the bran because they want it to be more stable. I'm working with some scientists who are trying to test this so that we could actually prove that when you buy whole grain flour from a big company, you're actually not getting whole grain. But in the meantime, look for stone milled, a stone mill flour, if it's really stone milled. There's a lot of deception in the baking industry, and there has been for hundreds of years. There's no accident they were stringing up bakers and millers during the French Revolution, because they would put anything in flour just to fool people. Bone meal, chalk. And they would put bakers in the stocks and throw old bread at them.
When we had this bakery in Maine, in Bar Harbor, I thought the greatest coup would be to get the whole grain bread into the schools of Bar Harbor. That was my goal. But we could not compete with Wonder Bread. I mean, as you said, Wonder Bread could stay on staying on the shelf for 2 years, versus ours, which after a week, of course, and less than that, it would be moldy because it was alive.
Exactly. Food should go bad. I mean, there's something wrong with food that doesn't go bad. I bought a loaf of Wonder Bread the day they went bankrupt and closed, and because I wanted to have it for old time's sake. And it's still soft. and they went bankrupt, I think, in December. This bread, it feels just like new. How do they do that? In fact, I did go to a Wonder Bread factory and watch them make Wonder Bread, and it was an astonishing process. But it's not bread and it's not baking. It's something else.